9 a.m. at the Cloverdale Legion. These volunteers, parents of cadets and Army Cadet League members, have been planning the annual Ortona dinner for several weeks. They arrived here at 8 a.m. Some were here last night, bringing in food and supplies. Now, they're busy preparing food for the cadets and guests that will arrive in 8 hours. There's much to do to prepare for what will be a remarkable celebration.
It's pretty cool. I didn't know too much about it. Drew obviously brought both Mark and I in and asked if we'd help for the day, so good in that part, and seems like a good way to spend a Sunday. We're doing a soup from scratch. Mark's working on that. We're doing a roasted pork loin, or pork shoulder rather. So we're gonna open it up, roll it up, herb it up, send it out.
Onions, celery, carrots, I believe we have some cauliflower will be thrown in there as well. Broccoli. Sound like a fun thing to do? You know, I had my friend Drew, who we all worked together before, so he kind of just asked me to help out, and it seemed like a cool thing.
Ortona, perhaps one of the most significant battles of the Italian campaign. A name that conjures images of fighting during a time that usually is joyously celebrated, Christmas. The Seaforth Highlander Army Cadets began commemorating that event in 2002. Now, for the first time, all 6 Seaforth Cadet Corps are gathering together to celebrate Christmas dinner and learn about Ortona. The meal is being replicated as closely as possible with soup, roast pork, and vegetables.
It's an honor because I think it's important for the next generation to understand what's gone on before them, and so if we can facilitate that and make sure the next generation remembers and so on, then hopefully our cadets won't ever be required to do a greater community service.
Okay. Well, when World War broke out in 1939, I was living in Maple Ridge, and I joined the Seaforth. My eldest brother would join the engineers, but he transferred to the Seaforth, and we went overseas in December 39, the two of us, in the Seaforth. I had 4 other brothers. They all joined up eventually in different regiments. Anyway, we left here in Vancouver December the 15th and got to England, and I spent the next 2.5 years in England. I went up through the ranks, Lance Corporal, Corporal, Lance Sergeant, Sergeant, and I was recommended for commission. I came back to Vancouver, back to Gordon Head in Victoria for my commissioning. And after I was commissioned, I ended back in England in 1943, early 43, and in July of 43, the regiment went to Sicily. Well, I missed that, unfortunately. I rejoined the regiment in Ortona on December the 20th, just in time to start the battle, which was a real eye-opener to me. My initiation into battle into that awful 8 days we had in Ortona. I was right down. My platoon strength was right down to about 18 at one time, and actually I became a corporal section leader again because I had no men very few men to lead. We fought there for these 3 or 4 days. On Christmas Day, we heard that we were going back company by company to have a Christmas dinner. Well, this was a little bit unreal to me, but that's what happened. And I was in D Company, and we arrived back in the church. I forget the name of the church. I get it in a minute. That evening, about 5 o'clock in the evening, it was just getting dusk, like it was just right now. And we had our dinner, and went back in the line. I say back in the line, went about 5 blocks up to where the fighting was again. Now we had some tough times. I remember we heard the word mouse holing. We got up to the top floor of these houses, and went through the walls with these. We had these little 2x4 blocks of Amatol. We put that on the wall, light a fuse, and blew the hole in the wall, and then we went in that way. I did that about 4 or 5 times, and it was successful. I lost three or four really good buddies. One of my best buddies was killed on the day Christmas Day. Yeah.
What was his name?
Alec Farmer. He's Sergeant Major, Company Sergeant Major Alec Farmer. And he was killed by a sniper. That was I must say that was one of the things that we were worried about, that bothered us, is sniping. There seemed to be snipers everywhere. Twice I was very closely hit by sniper fire. It's an awful feeling, go ping right by you. And I'd walked up the stairs into the second floor of this house, and on the landing there was a little square hole like this, and I just happened to look in, and a sniper bolt came through and hit the wall behind me. That's how close it was. And another thing I must say about the Germans, they were well prepared. No matter where we went, room to room, it seemed to me that they had ammunition, they had grenades, they had a stockpile of everything in every room they went to, right through from beginning to end. So they just, as they went back, we forced them back, and we did force them back. They had stuff to throw at us.
Well, we should be okay. We should be. Once we've got all the chairs set up, we'll do a final count. But I mean, you got what, 84, 168, and off of that, so there's got to be 100 there. About 100.
There, I think we got it. Okay. Yeah, we got it. Exhausted, tired, looking forward to, can't wait to see the cadets' faces when they walk in here. It's going to be a pretty exciting, for the cadets to see their faces. Yeah, they really understand this. They're looking forward to it. It's going to be exciting to have them all together in one event. Having 240 cadets here to experience this is once in a lifetime. Got it? Yeah. There we go. Perfect. Great. Okay. So there's our wall. They're complete.
An exhibit is being created for the evening depicting uniforms and equipment used by the regiment during the war.
60mm mortar. Put it this way, yeah.
We wanted to make it take some of the pillars away so that it looks as most authentic as possible. So we've been working really hard to try to come up with themes to make it look as authentic as we could possibly make the church in Ortona look. So.
And then dice them for soup. Peel and dice. Okay, Anju and I are going to go bring them in here first. Cutting board. Sure.
You think? Or you want it diced? No, you just want it sliced.
Well, peel
Sticks
and
or
then
something,
just
right?
diced for the soup.
We have 3 ovens to do the whole meal, so it'll be pretty tight, but we'll make it happen.
Now to go back to dinner a minute, I remember going back in at night, and it was unreal to come in from what we had been doing back into the dinner itself. The dinner, I forget now, I think it was roast pork, and I don't know where they scrounged it from, but they scrounged dinner. Borden Cameron, the quartermaster, was the one that organized it, and he was there organizing the dinner. We came back company by company, and we had the Padre, Major Durnford, was organizing a sing-song. We had the signal officer, Wilf Gildersleeve, playing the piano, and we all sang carols. And we were there for about an hour and a half in the dinner. By this time, it was quite getting on until about 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock at night. So my company, we stayed in the hotel, nothing. We stayed in the church that night. And because we couldn't move, the whole town was blasted to bits. We have pictures of it now, showing all the streets were just chock-a-block full of rubble. The Germans had taken the four corners of the street and blown them all into the street. And they did this right through the town. So we could not move at night without making a noise. We drew it, if you made a noise, then it drew gunfire. So we stayed there that night in the town, in the church. And next morning, this was on the morning of the 26th, we moved back into the line, which was, I'd say, 4 or 5 blocks up the road. And we were my platoon were on the northwest corner of the city. And we were there, we fought in that area, in about an area of about 4 or 5 blocks, until the December the 28th, when the Germans pulled out. It was quite eerie. We woke up the morning of the 28th, there was no fighting, no machine guns, nothing going on. And it was hard to understand that it was over, and it was over. Other than the fact that they kept we had some incoming all the time. The Germans didn't leave us alone in peace. They kept in some artillery fire going into the end of the town.
I know we have 150 pounds of carrots. We have, I think, 25 pounds of celery, 50 pounds of onions. There's a lot of meat donated by a very special family to our corps. That's amazing. We have, I think,
400 cans of root beer.
50 pounds of hard candy, 10 cases of mandarins, 100 pounds of apples. I could go on. Lots of food, and far and away most of it donated from the community and from other people who are here today, and it's just awesome that we're all coming together to get this done. We actually serve root beer and have candied cigarettes on the table, and my understanding is that at Ortona there were beer and cigarettes available to the troops, and obviously with minors we're not going to do that, even for the head table. But we do bring the root beer and candied cigarettes as just symbolic of some of the perks that the troops were able to enjoy that night. Every corps is bringing out people to chop vegetables, to set up the scene. The officers, I know just from our corps, I think we've got 11 officers showing up, and they're civilian instructors to help serve. As is traditional in Ortona, that the officers would serve their men. So it is that our officers serve our cadets. Lots
75,
of them.
I would say, in total, with food prep. I would say close to 75 with food preparation, the decorating, the people that have canvassed for all these donations. I think I would say close to 75.
Yeah, and 3 very special kitchen people, obviously, too, that are definitely helping us take a load off the kitchens for us by their stepping forward. And they have no cadet connection particularly. They're really just amazing volunteers.
70 years ago, where would we be if it weren't for them? You know, that's the big question. And that.
Keep going, yeah.
Okay.
Keep able to do it all.
Okay, we're gonna do it all. Here, I'll give you this for.
And you don't have to be perfect.
Sure.
They can be
What?
done.
Yeah, we're just cleaning them and.
Yeah. Don't worry about getting all the skin off. Like some skin on there's okay. So.
Okay.
Like even that one, just like a couple strips off of it, just so it tenderizes it, but nothing. And then.
And then one of the other committee members shows up, you should know.
Show one up with your peeler. Chefing it up.
This is how not to do it.
Says that he's got
Just about there. We're just about there, and it's always when we're done, it's always an amazing experience. So
all this is a labor of love, really. It's been great being a part of it for sure. And yeah, when the kids come tonight, it's going to be just like awesome.
I know my hips.
We owe all this to these guys.
Yeah.
I'm just a minion.
Keep saying that.
I know. Famous lunchroom.
Oh, it's fabulous. It's a beautiful way to get young people involved in history, regimental history, Canadian military history. It ties a lot of things together very quickly in one neat night. I think they get a sense of pride being associated with the cadet movement, as well as the regiment that sponsors this, the Seaforth Highlanders of Canada. I also think that they take away a lot of friendship and camaraderie with a big event like this. There's very few people that get involved in a big get together like this. They certainly do it at school. So this is a fabulous event for these people.
No, okay.
Nope.
But there was one there.
Mary had one.
Yeah, duct tape.
Trained for 6 years in that now.
Yeah, I'm just waiting for that water to boil to cut in the rest of them.
We're doing a pork roast, so we did a nice dry rub, some Cajun seasoning, paprika, salt, pepper, thyme, and then roasted off in the oven, low and slow, for 2 hours, and just slicing it up, and we'll just give it a quick reheat before we plate it.
We are dealing with I think just over 100 pounds of potatoes right now, and we got some nice butter and cream to fatten everybody up. My aunt actually talked me into this, so I thought I'd drag some of the best cooks I know into this, just because this whole event and everything is pretty awesome, and to be a part of it is really something special. And I thought, if I've been trusted to cook for this, I want some of the best chefs I know to come help me too. So, and once I told them what it was about, they had no problem coming and donating some of our time to help out.
So we have some spaghetti squash, and this is going to be for our vegan option. So we're going to serve it with tomato sauce, and basically, as you can see, as I pull this away, it comes apart and all stringy like spaghetti.
With the sun setting on a clear, brisk winter afternoon, cadets and guests begin arriving.
We have got all 6 Seaforth Corps, so that includes 2277, that's Langley, 2812, which is Surrey, 1867 Delta, 2893, which is Poco, 72nd, which is Vancouver, and Sechelt, which is 2963 Sechelt. So we've got all 6 Seaforth Corps here, so I believe there's a total of 241 cadets that are actually attending tonight. So it's a big, and this is about them. This is about creating this event for them and them experiencing what it was like that night in Ortona, to actually experience this, being served by their officers, being out in the gunfire. We have live recorded artillery that's going to be going through the PA system to actually really get a full feel of what it was like that night in the church in Ortona. I can't wait to see their expressions.
Pardon? Do you guys do the same course? You did a run by and you quit going.
I know, and mine doesn't write.
You little.
No. We're kind of at a lull right now. So we're just waiting to start serving food, and then you're going to help bring some of the dirty dishes through to the dish area. And we just need to make sure we have a garbage set up so we can scrape plates and that's over there. We're almost there. I just want to start.
This is remembering those who served in World War II and the great service that they did.
Just pretend. It's been so long since
It means a lot to me. I love looking back on history and seeing how tough it was to get through the war and all that. And someday I'd hope to join the army. I get to sit here and eat just like the soldiers did in the war. And we get to hang out for I don't know how long, but it's really fun.
This is like the most important night in the whole cadet year. And right now this is extra special because we have everyone, all our sister corps gathered today. I feel really honored to actually participating in this. It's much different than being in a socials class learning about it, to actually be part of a reenactment of it.
Welcome to the Seaforth Highlander Cadet Battalion's first ever battalion dinner. Tonight marks 70 years since the Ortona dinner originally happened in Italy. The cadet program 12 years ago started having their Ortona dinner, which 2812 started. To my right, I have Colonel Fairweather, Ortona veteran. Next to him, I have Honorary Major Brian Kerr. Next to him, Pipe Major of the unit, Chief Warrant Officer Mike Baines, who in a couple days will be stepping down after 41 years of service. And then that is one thing I would like you all to applaud. From the Seaforth Patrons Reps, Art Knight, former Lieutenant Colonel. To my left, Mrs. DeLorme, who is the mother to the Seaforth Cadet Corps. She's the surviving spouse of Jack DeLorme, who was a Ortona vet. Next to her, her son, Garrett DeLorme, his wife, Debbie DeLorme, and their daughter, Jocelyn DeLorme. Next to her is a surviving spouse, Mrs. Brownie Hamilton. Her husband, Ken, as they called him, Hammy Hamilton, was a Seaforth and also an Ortona vet. Representing the Army Cadet League, we have Roger Prowse and Louise Prowse. From the Legions, we have BC Yukon Command past president and founding chair, Rob Brady. Representing the Legions from the following branches, we have representatives from the following branches: Branch 6, Branch 8, Branch 21, Branch 6, Branch 229, and Branch 240. Thank you all for your support. Not to be left off the list, we also have the chairs from our parents' sponsoring committees from 72nd, 1867, 2277, 2812, and 2893. That is our head table.
Good evening. I wrote this speech when I was in high school in grade 12 English, so if there's parts of it that everyone probably knows. Hi. Okay. So there's parts of the speech that everyone's probably very familiar with, but just as a reminder, the intended audience was people who knew very little of Ortona or that it even existed. So, every year when December decides to come around and we're all bombarded with advertisements about presents, food, and the gift of giving, do any of you stop and think that the person sitting next to you with food stains all over their face could be shot dead tomorrow or even tonight? Or how about after you've enjoyed grandma's dessert, you get up, you brush the crumbs off your shirt, you grab your rifle, you head outside and defend your keep? I bet that doesn't cross most of our minds. However, 70 years ago in a half-torn down church hall, this was the reality for anxious Canadian soldiers celebrating a simple Christmas in hell, 1943 in Ortona, Italy. If I were to ask you to name the battles of World War II, guaranteed the first one that would come to a majority of your minds would be the Battle of Juno Beach. However, the Battle of Ortona was quickly the fastest growing battle where the media was involved and where the world was most interested to hear about. Yes, the area of Ortona was much smaller than that of Juno Beach, but does that make a battle any less important? Absolutely not, but our textbooks in school seem to think so, as well as Remembrance Day assemblies and World War II tributes on television. So I'm here today to inform you about the biggest, smallest battle, and in remembrance to my grandfather, who risked everything and is now part of a fading significance. In 1943, my grandfather was part of the Loyal Edmonton Regiment, who were told they would be part of the Italian campaign. Upon arrival outside of Ortona, the Canadians lost many brave soldiers before the regiment even made it into the city. The Germans had set up defenses along the Morrill River, which was known as the gully to the soldiers. The Germans had the landscape to their advantage with their dreaded machine guns, and they mowed down Canadian troops. The Canadians had to change their battle strategy quickly, as facing the Germans head-on meant certain death. So they went around the gully and shot parallel, then forced the Germans into retreat. After this 9-day-long battle, only 15 Canadians made it back from the front lines, and only a total of 2 kilometers in ground were gained. However, this wasn't the end of a brutal battle. It was only the horrific beginning. The Germans needed a new plan of attack. After evacuating Ortona, they blew up parts of the city. By creating substantial amounts of rubble, they were able to funnel Canadian forces where they wanted them to go, thus setting up massacres, the biggest one known as Killer Square. The Canadians were unknowingly led into a slaughterhouse. Unlike other battles seen in World War II, Ortona wasn't fought on flat landscapes or in trenches, but fought street to street, house to house, and sometimes door to door. Here, a new tactic in street fighting was invented called mouse holing, where the Canadian soldiers would blow out an adjoining wall in Italian houses. They'd then throw grenades to clear out the lower floors of the house. The main German tactic, however, was to cause confusion within the Allied forces by taking out the corporals. If the privates didn't have a leader, chaos would pursue, then victory over the Canadians would be easier to obtain. In this horrific battle, it was better to be a private than a corporal, so you were not targeted. The Battle of Ortona was so intense that neither of the troops stopped for Christmas when December 25th rolled around. So in small groups of about 20 soldiers, they went into a half-blown-up church hall and ate a simple Christmas dinner. This dinner involved roasted pork, potatoes, a simple vegetable portion, a chocolate bar, a bottle of beer, Christmas pudding, and a cigarette. However, not everyone had the opportunity to enjoy their Christmas dinner. A private by the name of Jacques Delorme, my grandfather, was eating his Christmas dinner with his friends in a house not too far away from the church when a German launch shell blew up the corner of the area he was eating. Jack was pulled into unconsciousness. When his mind threw him back into reality, the first thing he saw was a severed foot lying in the middle of his precious Christmas dinner. Jack was forced back into warfare mindset as quickly as his Christmas dinner was gone. This was one story of thousands of the horror that was awakened in Ortona. Strangely, 3 days later, when daybreak came on December 28, 1943, the Canadians discovered that the Germans had left town, thus taking victory over Ortona. One rumor was spread that the Canadians held a threat on their supply lines, but the real reasons still remain unsure. Ortona was quickly sought by the media in the beginning of the battle and was dubbed one of the most intense and gruesome battles to take place. But as soon as D-Day was victorious, Canada's epic battle in Ortona was simply yesterday's news and seemed to be unimportant. But to those who fought and died in Ortona, and to the loved ones at home who were kept posted about the battle, Ortona was never put aside as unimportant. The memorial set up in Ortona gives the veterans a chance to forgive, but never forget the time that they fought in hell. In memory of the Battle of Ortona, a battle of such greatness but has failed to be described that way in a simple social studies textbook, the cadets every year at Christmas put on a dinner with exactly what the soldiers had to eat in Ortona. It's a remembrance and appreciation ceremony where the veterans of Ortona and their families like mine can go and thank members of the battle like my grandfather, Jacques Delorme. Whether they died then, died now, or are still alive, these veterans hold an important part of the world's gruesome history and should be honored and respected, instead of standing in the background of a fading picture. Thank you.
Some hae meat and cannot eat, and some would eat that want it. But we have meat and we can eat, and see and say the Lord we thank it. Amen.
Absolutely. I want the super size. That's a heavy one. Just for you.
So you get to wherever the cups are. Okay, stop there. Stop there. You keep going until. Okay, stop the cup.
He makes his own whiskey.
I've stopped it.
In the busy kitchen, the chefs and their assistants are about to plate and serve the main course.
No, you're going to pass to us. You just scoop, you just go up here. Tom, you'll grab potatoes and a cat for potatoes. Same here. So what line you're scooping on so you can play draw that. Okay, you got it.
Start the potato and then
Okay. Yeah, so you're gonna put 3 of broccoli, carrots, like that's it. You are gonna do, yeah, 1 or 2 is some of our school.
Yeah. Thank you. Start going down. Very good. They're fine with waiting.
I told they were all sitting together.
The main road of Ortona was to be the killing ground.
They captured Ortona building by building, house by house, using a mouse pulling technique. Gaining access to a house from the roof, they would enter and clear the building from the upstairs down. They would also blast a hole in the adjacent house to gain access to the next building, while others cleared the downstairs by dropping grenades. The Canadians advanced through the buildings, not through the open streets. The Germans, in an effort to defend themselves, would use the ground floor as their entry point into buildings, and then try to return fire from there. Their own potato masher grenades would rattle back down the stairs and explode at their feet. Thank you.
Pass it down. Try to pass it down.
That's the firing pin. So that pushes the speed target.
I think this is a wonderful thing for the cadets because as our vets are no longer with us, we need to remind them the cost and what they've given to our country. And I think it's a good thing to teach them to respect what they've done and to feel how they felt when they were going through it. I think this is an awesome thing for the kids to learn.
Well, this is something that the Seaforths have been doing now for 12 years. This is our 12th annual. It's grown from maybe 40 kids to what you see here tonight, and it's now a 6-corps event. And as Shannon said, this is something that we as adults have a responsibility to make sure that our cadets understand the importance of this battle and the importance of what it meant to Canadians, to Canada, to Italy. And it's an amazing thing that we have a responsibility to make sure that the cadets are aware of what's going on, and we plan to do this every year for as long as we can. Absolutely, and that's the key. And you can tell by our program, we make sure that we involve the kids so that they, speak to it and understand just exactly what it felt like to be there that night on, the 24th of December, tired and bombs going off around them. So it's pretty important and pretty special.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mesdames et Messieurs, la Reine du Canada, the Queen.
The Queen. Stay standing. I now call on Officer Cadet Mitchell to toast to Prince Philip.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Colonel-in-Chief, His Royal Highness Prince Philip. The Colonel-in-Chief.
You may have noticed the small table set off on the side by its own. It is reserved to honor our fallen comrades in arms. This symbolizes that they are with us here in spirit. We should never forget those brave men and women who answered the call and served the cause of freedom in a special way. We are ever mindful that the sweetness of enduring peace has always been tainted by the bitterness of personal sacrifice. We are compelled to never forget that while we enjoy our daily pleasures, there are others who have endured the agonies of pain, deprivation, and death. I would like to explain the meaning of the items on the special table. The table is round to show our everlasting concern for our fellow comrades. The tablecloth is white, symbolizing the purity of their motives when answering the call of duty. The single red rose displayed in a vase reminds us of the life of each of our fallen comrades and the loved ones and friends of these comrades who keep the faith. The vase is tied with a red ribbon, symbol of our continued determination to remember our fallen comrades. A slice of lemon on the bread plate is to remind us of the bitter fate of those who will never return. A pinch of salt symbolizes the tears endured by the families of those who have sacrificed all. The Holy Book represents the strength gained through faith sustained most lust for our country. The glass is inverted. They cannot toast with us at this time. The chair is empty because they are no longer with us. Let us remember and never forget their sacrifice. May they and their families be watched over and protected. To the fallen.
Fellow guests, officers and NCOs of the cadets, I'm very pleased to be here with you this evening, and I'm utterly astounded at the numbers that are here today. I think it's wonderful. I think it's just absolutely wonderful that you're all here celebrating or commemorating this battle of ours taken 70 years ago. When I I returned to the battalion in 1942. I got up through the ranks to the rank of sergeant, and I'd been sent back for commissioning, so I missed the landings in Sicily and Italy. However, it was my very dubious pleasure to be there on December the 20th at the beginning of the Battle of Ortona. And for the next week, the Christmas week, we fought in that one town and we suffered grievously. However, memories fade, and here we are once again separating this battle. One thing I'd like to do before I just go into it, I'd like to acknowledge some people here tonight. One is the lady, the sponsor committee on my right, and also my comrades on the left, the Canadian Legion, who are doing such a wonderful job in supporting us. And I had 18 men in my platoon. Normally, a platoon strength is 35, so we were right down to bare bones. When we finished our dinner, we were the last ones in, and we entered the church about 5 o'clock at night. So we had our dinner, finished about 7. It was dark, so we stayed in the church. We slept over that night. We did not dare go outside because you could not move. The streets were all blown down, and you could not move without making a noise. So we stayed in the church and went back up the line, so-called up the line, 4 blocks later. In retrospect, I must say that we did well. We did well. The whole division did well. And we suffered grievous casualties. However, we did survive, and we're here tonight again. I'd like to say this again. It was wonderful to see such a wonderful display of young people here today. Just remember this, there's an opportunity to grow. I know that of 4 of our cadets who became colonels of the regiment. We have Arthur Knight here tonight, our honorary lieutenant colonel, an old-time cadet. I shouldn't say an old-time, that's an old-timer cadet. Anyway, it's there to be done. If you apply yourselves, no matter where you can go. So all the very best. I understand that gentleman with the red coat is right around the corner, coming around, so on him, my behalf, I'd like to thank every one of you here tonight. A very Merry Christmas and a happy and prosperous New Year, and thank you for having me here tonight. Thank you.
I'm very happy to be here tonight and very honored to see such a great bunch of cadets. And this is my 10th year of being at the Ortona dinner for the cadets. So I have seen many of you start as 12 or 13-year-olds and grow right up through the 5-year course. And it's been a joy to see how each one of you developed into such wonderful young men and women, and such beautiful Canadians with so much responsibility, and where you've learned so much that you can use in different ways in your life to follow. I have told you several stories about my husband, and he was a very quiet person who did not talk about the war very often. And anyway, I think I've told you just about all I know. But once in a while he would say something that he thought was a little bit funny. And one time they didn't have any vehicles to, he was a driver of course, and they didn't have any vehicles to take supplies towards the front lines, and so the supplies had been dropped, wrapped in gunny sacks, and they were to run up and grab a parcel, a gunny sack, and carry it across a river. And I don't think this was in Ortona, but it was in the war anyway. And because he had had an accident when he was a youngster, he had one leg a little bit shorter than the others, and so all of the men that he was with could run a little bit faster than he could, and of course they just quickly grabbed the smallest parcels and ran and went across the river, and the water came just about up to their shoulders or armpits, and they had to hold it up above their heads so it wouldn't get wet. So the biggest parcel was left, and Jack grabbed it up and away he went. And when they got to the other side, they were being shelled by the minis, or what, you know, the planes were coming over and dropping bombs and shells and things. And so everybody would try and, you know, get behind a rock or a tree or whatever and try to be camouflaged. But Jack had this big parcel, and he would just flop down on the ground and put it over the top of it. And it was a big gunny sack full of bread. And so the shrapnel went into the bread, and it didn't hit him. And he thought that was quite funny. Anyway, it is my pleasure to be here, and I want each one of you cadets to know that I've probably learned more from you than you've ever learned or heard from me. I wish you all a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year, and just hope that God will bless you and keep you in His care.
It's overwhelming, really. And I think my husband would have been really impressed.
Why is that?
Yes.
Why is that?
Well, I don't know exactly. He was a quiet person, but I think he would think that they had an opportunity that he didn't have as a youngster, and that if he would have had that kind of an opportunity, it would have helped him when he joined up to learn the things that they had learned. And I think he would have been really impressed that they are carrying on each day. You know, in the civilian life, they still have the cadets organization going to. And I think that would have really impressed him. I have been honored so much that I don't feel that I deserve it in any way, because I wasn't really in the war, not as a volunteer. I did help in the Air Force and that a little bit in holidays, working in the kitchen, but I didn't do much.
On behalf of the branch, I would like to thank everybody for coming out, and especially to all the volunteers for last night, this morning, and in the kitchen with the cooks, and the parent sponsoring committee for all the hard work they did. I hope you cadets do really appreciate the work that went into this on your behalf. Next time I come up with an idea of bringing something like this together, I'm going to keep my mouth shut. Didn't appreciate going to bed at 3 o'clock last night. But in any case, it is definitely worth the effort of what this is all about. As a Legionnaire myself, ex-vet, like down here to my left, definitely the Colonel and the Colonel-in-Chief here to my right. It's about remembrance of those who served and continue to serve is what we stand for. And an event like this lays the foundation for remembering something long before you were ever born. And the fact that you keep remembering it through these dinners is an important remembrance of what they went through way back when. You may never have to carry a rifle, and hopefully you never will. But the fact that you have a life today that you can be appreciative of men and women, what they did in the past. And these events are what help you remember those things, and I hope you do. So I hope you carry that forward and remember days like this, such a large event like this, which is excellent to see. I'm glad that we were able to host it, but I didn't expect Dana that night to pop open her book and start booking the date already a year in advance, but hey, here we are. It's quite nice to see this, it really is. And then I also want to thank the back corner, CMEC, for coming out and bringing a display so you can see what they used back then. Thank you very much. On behalf of the Cloverdale branch, I want to thank everybody for being here, for all the volunteers. Do stay and help break down. I want to go to bed at 3 o'clock this morning. Anyway, thank you for all for coming up and everybody helping.
Thank you very much, sir. At this time, I call on Major Thompson and Kathy Bach to come up for a presentation, please.
Hope everybody had lots to eat. Everybody full? Yeah? No? A couple of things we'd like to do. First, and foremost, of course, wish you all a very Merry Christmas and hope you have a very safe and good holiday while we're broken away from cadets. Second of all, we do have a couple of presentations. For a whole bunch of years, like about 12 years, we've had a certain individual that's been there all the time, shows up at all the events, does all kinds of cool things for us, produces pictures, does programs, Photoshop, does revisions to programs, does more revisions to programs, and then when he's finished, he does a couple more revisions, and then when he's finally sick of us, he just gets them printed up for us. So we'd like to make a presentation to our cameraman. He's always taking pictures of everybody else, but now he's going to get a picture taken of him.
Phil has, like Rob said, been at everything with us from the inception of the Ortona dinners 12 years ago. This is the 12th anniversary that the Seaforth has been doing these Seaforth dinners. So we wanted to just acknowledge that Phil's at everything. He comes to every one of our events and takes photographs. And if it wasn't for him, our history and our site on Francois' site would not be what it is today. So thanks, Phil, from the bottom of our heart.
And on behalf of the Director of Cadets, I'd like to present the Director's Seal of Excellence to 1867 Seaforth Highlanders of Canada, who along with 2277 have also received a Director's Seal of Excellence. And it's a recognition of the tremendous accomplishments achieved through your cadet attraction and retention of initiatives. Your great efforts ensure that the cadet program will thrive for many years to come. So to the Parents Committee, the officers of 1867, to all the officers of the battalion, we've all grown, so well done, everybody. And to David, congratulations.
This summer, Debbie and I went to Italy, and we were trying to trace the steps of where my father went and where he served, where he fought. We went to Sicily first, and we were trying to hook up with a group that were there to, and we were able to take some etchings of the, sorry, it's a bit emotional thinking about it. We were in the graveyard for about 2 hours, and we took etchings of the tombstones of a few of the soldiers who had died there. And some of the soldiers, as you know, my father was a member of the Loyal Edmonton Regiment. Some of the tombstones were Loyal Edmonton Regiment, and right next to it, the Seaforth Highlander. And I couldn't think of a better picture to know that the Seaforths and the Edmonton Regiment were like brothers together in their battling in Ortona. So I thank you for accepting us and adopting our family into the Seaforth Highlanders. It's a great family, and I wanted to make the present. Oh, this is a presentation from us to the battalion, and there's two more of these soldiers died on Christmas Day 70 years ago, and I just want to read their names out in memory of them. And as we had the toast before, these are two individuals that shed their blood and died for our freedom, and I just wanted to read their names. This is Corporal S.I. Buchanan, Seaforth Highlanders. Corporal E.F. Sellers. And I think it's good if you ever care to look up the in the artifacts of the war memorials and that sort of thing, just to read over the names of people that died there, that shed their blood, because it was for all of us to be able to live in freedom that they did it. And so thanks again. I just want to give this to you as a battalion. Thanks a lot.
I'd like to share one that he told to both me and to my brother-in-law, and it was I think during some of the first days of being right in the city of Ortona. He was out on the street, and it was you shouldn't have been out on the street if you were there, because you were wide open, and that's exactly what happened. His buddy was next to him, and a sniper shot and killed his buddy, and my dad instantly dropped to the ground, and as the story goes, he had all he had for cover was a 4-inch curb, and that's what he used for cover till he got to safety. And that was just one of the things in the day that that was a story that he told both of us. And like my mom had said before, he didn't tell too many stories, and we've been able to pick up on some of them because just by sharing with each other, because he would tell little tidbits here and there to some of the family members, and that's one that I remember.
When the Germans realized the Canadians were advancing and gaining ground, they began to trap the men in collapsed buildings. They did this by luring them into the top floors and then blowing it up with planted explosives on the lower level, thus trapping them in the rubble. Eventually, the Canadians retaliated in the same way. By the 24th of December, the Germans were taking a dreadful beating, and by Christmas Day, the Battle of Ortona was reaching the peak of its intensity. The men were exhausted from vigorous fighting with the German elites. So with the intent to bring some long-forgotten cheer to the platoons, Captain D.B. Cameron and his men arranged to provide a Christmas dinner. They held it in their headquarters, which was in the battered ruins of a church, the Church of Santa Maria di Constantinople. The fighting continued after the dinner and throughout the night. Then on December 28, 1943, under the cover of darkness, the Germans withdrew from Ortona. 1,400 Canadian men died in the quiet streets of the Italian countryside. Ortona was left in smoldering ruins. It was a battle that was largely fought and won by the privates and NCOs in small quarters and extreme circumstances. This was Ortona.
this event did not just happen, we need to thank all the behind-the-scenes people that have made this happen. This includes and is not limited to the regiment for their ongoing support, Phil and Marion Edge for their ongoing support not only of this event, but all year round for several of the corps. The Chilliwack Military Education Center for their display and their hard work on this event. If you've never been out to the Chilliwack Military Educational Center, or CMEC, it's worth the trip to go out and see what they have on display. It's very impressive. All the Corps' parents, sponsoring councils for all their work, not only as for tonight, but they do all year long. A special thanks to the chair of 2812, Christine Alexander, for her hard work on procuring donations, as well as the vice chair of 2277, Dana Reed, for all of her hard work on coordinating this event tonight, and also the set design. The parents of each of the cadets for what they do all year round in support of you, the cadets. The Cloverdale Legion for the facilities, and Frank Redicott for this great idea of having battalion. But keep it to yourself next time. Done. All the supporting legions for their support during the year. The DeLorean family for the support of not only of this dinner, but of the support they've been given to the cadet program. All the volunteers that have worked on putting this event together, setting up the Legion and working on the food. The professional chefs that volunteered their time to cook for you tonight. There's also volunteers that helped in the kitchen, but apparently they can't get on this side of the wall. Keep in mind, they've been here since 8 o'clock this morning in the kitchens with different shifts, from parents coming and peeling potatoes and carrots for you, chairs coming to peel. We had parents here that were helping last night till 3 o'clock in the morning for the set design, and coming back again at 8 o'clock this morning. I'd also like to thank all of the officers, from the commanding officers right down to the officer cadets, for all the work they've done on this dinner, and they do for the cadet program through the year. Most of all, we need to thank you, the cadets. Without you, our program would be nothing. This event would be a very empty hall. You are a very important part of this program, and we thank you.